Welcome to the third session of Vedic Math. So for the last two sessions, we have been talking about the 11th Anuvaka of Rudra Chamakam, which is from the Krishna Yajurveda. Eka च मे तिस्रश्च मे पंच च मे सप्त च मे नव च मे एकादश च मे त्रयोदश च मे पंचदश च मे सप्तदश च मे नवदश च मे एकविंशतिश्च मे त्रयोविंशतिश्च मे पंचविंशतिश्च मे सप्तविंशतिश्च मे नवविंशतिश्च मे एकत्रिंशच्च मे त्रयस्त्रिंशच्च मे चतुष्टश्च मे अष्टौ च मे द्वादश च मे षोडश च मे विगुंशतिश्च मे चतुर्विगुंशतिश्च मे अष्टाविगुंशतिश्च मे द्वात्रिगुंशच्च मे षट्त्रिगुंशच्च मे चत्वारिगुंशच्च मे चतुश्चत्वारिगुंशच्च मे अष्टाचत्वारिगुंशच्च मे. So this is the 11th Anuvaka. These are all numbers. So the first section is numbers from 1 to 33. And the second section is the numbers 4 to 48 in Sanskrit. So last time we talked that the sloka has a very deep meaning. We are basically asking everything from the God, everything good in this universe from the God using these numbers. So one version, one interpretation of the mantra is that the first part of the Anuvaka, the numbers from 1 to 33, the odd numbers from 1 to 33, they belong to the divine world. And the remaining numbers in the mantra, the multiples of 4, they belong to the worldly matters. So that is one interpretation. So the first section of the Anuvaka, the odd numbers from 1 to 33 belong to we are requesting things divine by using those numbers. And in the second part of the Anuvaka, by using multiples of 44, we are praying, multiples of 4, we are praying for bestowing upon us the worldly things. So that is one interpretation.
But don't we also learn not to ask for worldly things when we're praying to God? Like not to ask for 100 on the next test and a new car and stuff. We're more supposed to ask for we're supposed to ask for more like God things, and like we ask for salvation or we ask for knowledge. And
yeah, the worldly matters are also not like material things. They are not two material things. We'll see that today. So like for 4, by 4, when we say 4 in the mantra, we are asking for the 4 ideals of human life, namely dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. So these are the 4 righteous ways of life: wealth, desire, and salvation. So moksha is included. So that answers your question. So we want the right dharma, we want the right way of earning money, wealth, artha. We want the right kind of desires, kama, and we want moksha eventually, which is a salvation.
Which is why we are here.
So are we asking for like the right dharma as in like to become or to be a good person, a saintly person?
Yes.
When we ask for dharma?
Yes, we want the right way, right dharma. So what are the 4 Vedas?
Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvaveda.
Atharva Veda, good. So Rig Veda is the most ancient one, right?
The first one?
Yeah, Rig means praise. So Rig Veda is all about praises for all the great things in this universe. Yajurveda. Yajus stands for sacrifice.
Oh, like
Yajna, right? So yajna is about sacrifice. So Yajus is about sacrifice or worship.
Sama
So-
is equal, right?
Yajurveda is about sacrifice or worship. Sama means equal.
Sama is the
So we're asking, or so it holds all the equal things.
So, but in this context, Sama might mean song. It's
Song?
like a song.
Like Gita.
Yeah, Gita. So Sama Veda is more melody kind of thing.
Oh, so
Atharva Veda, yeah.
maybe that's the thing to do with marsh, like to do with
Today what? What today? I did not get that.
you can talk.
Okay. So those are the four Vedas. Atharva Veda is about daily rituals. So some of the mantras, ward of diseases, evil spells, and so on. So that is Atharva Veda. It is more about the day-to-day things, right? Rig Veda is about the praises. So those are the four Vedas. 8 stands for the 4 Vedas and the 4 Upavedas. So the 4 Upavedas are, Upaveda is something that comes, that is born from the Vedas, right? So
like Smritis and Ishitas.
yeah, so yeah, or a better analogy for you guys would be like how botany, you have heard of botany,
The flowers.
the study of plants.
Yeah.
So that is the Upaveda of biology, right?
Yes.
So biology is like, if biology is like the Veda, then botany is like the Upaveda.
So like how in math there's algebra and geometry.
Yeah, you
and
can, yeah,
calculus.
that's right. Yes, that also is a good example. So there are 4 Upavedas. Each Veda has an Upaveda. So one of the most important Upavedas is the Ayurveda. Ayurveda is the Ayu is life, Veda is the knowledge of life.
Isn't Ayurveda like those help?
You have to come closer, otherwise you'll not be.
Okay. Isn't Ayurveda like
The study of medicine, herbs, and ancient healing.
and some like
That's
yogic
right.
practices that say they're
Yes.
from Ayurveda?
Yes. So which Veda do you think this originates from? For which Veda is this an Upaveda? The Ayurveda.
Atharva?
Yes, Atharva. I just mentioned, right? Atharva Veda has mantras to ward off diseases and all.
Day-to-day things.
Yeah. So Ayurveda is the Upaveda for Atharva Veda or Rig Veda also. It is considered as an Upaveda for Atharva or Rig Veda. Then the second Upaveda is a Dhanur Veda. What is Dhanur Veda?
Dhanurveda is the art of defenses.
Right, very
Doesn't
good.
Dhanur mean like bow and arrow?
Right, Dhanur means bow and arrow. So it is all about defenses.
Oh,
So this is the Upaveda for Yajurveda.
okay. Yeah.
And yeah,
Wait, what does defense have to do with sacrifice?
you have to protect the yajna, right?
Oh, that's why Rama and Lakshmana.
Yeah, Rama and
practiced
Lakshmana
that.
did that.
Yeah. Oh.
So Dhanur Veda is the Upaveda for Yajurveda.
Does each one only have one Upaveda? Each Veda only have one Upaveda? Or several?
But there's an Upaveda for the Rig Veda and the Atharva Veda.
Yeah, Atharva Veda we already saw. Ayurveda is an Upaveda for Atharva Veda. It can also be considered as an Upaveda for Rig Veda as well.
Yeah.
And then there is another Upaveda called Stapatya Veda. So Stapatya means Thapita, means establish.
Oh, because sthiti means steady.
Sthiti, steady, right. Stapatya means it has to do with buildings, establishing buildings, architecture, right? So
Would that be Samaveda?
so you tell me, will that be Samaveda,
Well, it doesn't seem like
Yajurveda?
Samaveda.
Rigveda,
I don't think
or
so.
Atharva Veda? Huh?
Atharva Veda.
Yeah, it is Atharva Veda because
It has
Atharva
some
Veda,
deal to every day-to-day things
Right.
because you need a house.
exactly, you got it right.
Oh,
So you need a house for
Water
that.
is a part to survive.
Right, that is something we need for survival. So Stapatya Veda is the Upaveda for Atharva Veda.
Doesn't seem the most important.
Sorry, that's
It doesn't seem the most important.
we are not able to hear you, but I think you have to come closer.
It doesn't seem the most important.
Oh, it doesn't seem the most important.
well,
Yeah, compared to Ayurveda, Ayurveda is about life. Stapatya Veda is about architecture. So compared to Ayurveda, yeah, you might think that it is not important.
but I suppose we wouldn't be anywhere with that.
Yeah, without a home, we'll be back to square one, right? So,
Yeah.
And also
so
the architecture preserved all the Bhagavad Gita and Vedas and everything till now, didn't it?
it's not the architecture, right? Why do you think architecture preserved the Bhagavad Gita and the Vedas?
Well, because I mean, well, maybe not architecture, but it's got to be contained in something or the other.
Yeah. So architecture is a sub-branch of Atharva Veda. And then there is a fourth Upaveda called the Gandharva Veda. So what is Gandharva Veda? Can anyone guess?
Wasn't there something about 27 Gandharvas and
Yes.
that
Yeah, it has something to do with them.
the dancers?
Yeah, the music and dance
Oh,
Veda,
so
the Veda
performing
for
arts.
performing arts. Yes.
What about
Ancient arts.
Huh?
that? Would
It's very-
visual, like painting and sculpting, would this all would that be?
Arts.
in
Part of it. Ancient arts.
Dharma?
That's why
Yeah, ancient art.
Arjun had to go in the skies. So earlier he learned all these arts.
Yeah.
Like Sangeetam and Bharatanatyam,
Right.
Kathak,
No,
Kuchipudi,
Kathak, Kuchipudi, they are
He just danced.
a little new.
yeah, they are newer, much newer than the Gandharva Veda. So they may have roots in the Gandharva Veda, but they are not part of the Gandharva Veda. Gandharva Veda, like Aditi said, they are ancient music and dance form. Yeah.
And that also, so would the Gandharva Veda also include like how to recite the Vedas?
No, that is not Gandharva Veda.
Because it's about like saying it.
Yeah, but it's not. It's the pronunciation of the Vedas is one of the Veda Angas. That is the next we are going to come.
Oh,
So for which Veda is this an Upaveda?
probably Samaveda.
Yeah, it
This
is
one,
Upaveda
Vedas.
for, yes. It is the Upaveda for the Sama Veda because Sama is about song. So those are the four Upavedas.
Okay.
Now the next number is 12. So the number 12, when we say number 12 in the mantra, we are asking for the 6 Vedangas and the 6 Shastras. So what are the 6 Vedangas? What are the Anga, is
Hands or legs.
hands or legs, limbs, right? So what are the 6 limbs of the Vedas? Can you guess?
And
Pronunciation, definition, memory,
Right,
memorization.
exactly. So,
Meaning.
right, first is a pronunciation. So that is called Siksha. The first Vedanga is Siksha.
Doesn't Siksha mean student?
Siksha means training,
Oh,
actually.
okay.
So Siksha, it's called Siksha because there is something called Sikshavalli, which the students, when they start to learn Vedas, remember when we go to Sanatana Dharma Kendra, we start with a prayer, a mantra, that is Sikshavalli.
Is it like saying how we won't abuse it?
No, Sikshavalli is, there are some instructions in Sikshavalli. Yeah, you're right. It's all about instructions. So Sikshavalli teaches you pronunciation of the Vedas. So that's why it's pronunciation. The first anga is Siksha, which stands for pronunciation. Okay, then what is the second anga?
Memorization,
Memorization.
definition.
Yeah, definition, right? So definition is important. For every word in the mantra, you need to know the meaning, the definition. So that part is called Nirukta. So in Telugu, the dictionary is called Nighantu. So Nirukta is basically definition. So that is the second anga. What is the third anga, you think?
Memorization, or perhaps the surroundings of like what time it is, where you're sitting, how you're sitting, what you're wearing.
Very
stuff like
good,
that.
very good. The timing of recitation and things like that, timing for the ritual. So that is the Jyotisha.
Like,
So Jyotish means, you would have heard this last name Joshi, right?
Yeah.
yes.
So Joshi actually means Jyotishi.
Well, Jyoti means light.
But in this context, Jyotishi means somebody who is good at astronomy.
Oh.
Jyotisha Shastra. Yeah, so when somebody's last name is Joshi, it means that his ancestors, his or her ancestors, were Jyotishis, were yeah. So by looking at your hand, they were palmistry. They would be able to tell the future. All this Tidhi and all those things are part of Jyotisham, Jyotisha Shastra.
So is it like how we're not allowed, like some of the stotras and things don't work in Kali Yuga?
You have to come closer. I cannot listen otherwise.
So
You have to come even closer. See somewhere here.
is it like how some, like we have to make sure we do it in the right time, like how some things don't work in Kali Yuga? So we have to make sure.
Yeah,
things wanna be
not working in
recognized.
Kali Yuga is a completely different matter, but Jyotisha Shastra is about the timing. For instance, you might have come to know that Navami and Ashtami are not all that good days for doing auspicious things.
Yeah.
Right? So Ashtami and Navami are not good for auspicious things.
Oh, and how
Um,
Shani is Saturn. And
Yeah, so like that, there are some timings. So all that is Jyotisha. So timing is very important for Vedas. That is the reason why the Vedas are very powerful. See, this one Anuvaka, just a few numbers, it is so powerful that it can bestow upon us all the good things in the universe, both the divine qualities and the worldly qualities. Whatever is good is bestowed upon. So it is very powerful. So that is why there is some timing for reciting these, for Vedas, reciting the Vedas. Vedas are very powerful. So that is the third anga, which is the Jyotisha. And what else? What could be the other anga for Vedas?
So far we've done pronunciation, definition, and then timing.
Yes.
Maybe still memorization surrounding perhaps who listens and who is doing it.
No, that is external to Vedas, right? Who is reciting it, whether the person memorizes it or not, those are all external to Vedas. We are talking about angas. Without these angas, Veda is like without limbs. These are the important angas of Veda. So what else could be the anga?
Could a guru be an anga?
Guru is also external. So like you think of language in your English textbook, what are some of the basics of the prose? What
Like
are the angas of the
like
prose?
vocabulary and
Vocabulary we already
grammar.
covered. Grammar, see?
Oh,
So just like you have grammar for your English text prose, you have grammar for, of course, prose and poetry. You have grammar for the Vedas as well. It is called Vyakarana.
but isn't the grammar already written in the Vedas?
Yeah, it is part of the Vedas.
Oh, but we just have to make sure to recite it right.
Yeah, you have to make sure that the Vyakarana is also right. Because remember, Sanskrit is very, very sensitive. Slight change in the syllable will cause a whole lot of difference. We saw that, right? In some of the sloka, Bhagavad Gita slokas and things like that. We saw how a small change can make a whole lot of difference. So Vyakarana is very important. Pronunciation. So Vya, remember we talked about Vya. So where did we talk about Vya?
When we talked about Vyasa's name.
Yeah, when we talked about Vyasa's name. So what does Vya mean? Why is he called Vyasa? Krishna Dvaipayana is called Vyasa.
Because he is, well, I know what the meaning of Krishna is. Well,
You have to talk
Vyasa-
louder and
Okay. Vyasa. Okay, go ahead. I'm pretty sure Vyasa is supposed to be like the protector or the explainer of our like 4 yugas.
yeah, you're close. Not 4 yugas. So what is Vyasa known for? What is the most important task that Vyasa did?
Right, the Mahabharata and explain the Vedas.
Yeah, more than Mahabharata. Mahabharata is the Panchama Veda, right? 5th Veda. But more important than that is the Vedas. So Vyasa came up with the division of the Vedas. He divided Vedas into 4.
So before that, the Vedas were divided into 4.
Yeah, we talked about all these things. We talked about how there are going to be Vyasas. So far, there have been 28 Vyasas or something like that.
Yeah.
So every yuga there is a Vyasa. So this Vyasa that we know, Krishna Dvaipayana, he divided the Vedas into 4. Right? So Vya means divide, analyze. So Vyakarana means analyze, divide. Vyakarana. Kara means hand, right? Do. So Vyakarana is division. So grammar is all about division and analyzing the language. So that is the 4th anga. So what is the 5th anga?
So we have grammar, pronunciation, definition, and timing.
Yes. So what else did you learn? So Vedas are mostly,
Well, Veda means knowledge.
so mostly in poetic form or prosaic form?
Poetic.
Poetic form. So what did you learn for poetry?
Well, what about, should they sing them in like pauses and like raga?
Yeah. So what is that called?
Anushtup?
Right. Anushtup is just one of them. But what are things like Anushtup called?
Well, in dance class, we
Yes.
always learn that we have, I don't know if this is just for dance, but we learned that we have to always, in every dance, we have to have bhava, raga, tala.
Yeah, those are the angas for dance. But for the music class, think about the music class.
Shruti, raga, tala,
Even basic.
Viswaras, aksharas.
Even basic. In this basic notation, there is no swara, there's no letter also.
Up and down?
Right. What are they called? Laghu Guru. Laghu Guru.
Wait,
Lala?
Laghu Guru. So with Laghu Guru, you can form multiple combinations, permutations of Laghus and Gurus to arrive at what? What is it called?
Wait, are Lagu and Guru like the number of beats?
No, Dirgha is the
Space,
Guru.
like to make
Guru.
it.
Right? Laghu is the short form, short, quick.
Oh, I know.
So Laghu Guru. So that is, so there's a name for that. That's called Chandas.
Is that like
Anushtup Chandaha.
Yeah.
Vishnu Sahasranama, you come across Anushtup Chandaha, right? Most of the Vedic verses are in Anushtup Chandas.
Even Lalita Sahasranama.
Yeah. Most of the prayers are in Anushtup Chanda. But there are other chandas also. So the fifth anga is the chandas, the meter. Laghu Guru, like that.
Oh, so like almost like Tala. How Aditala
Yeah,
has
sort of.
beats, which is
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1,
But
2, 1.
poets don't go into the ragas. Poets are, they only go at the chandas level.
Oh, like where to pause.
Yeah, raga also can be poets' work, but
Then it would be more of a song.
yeah, the same poem can probably be recited in multiple ragas. Possibly, I'm not very sure, but but poems conform to some kind of meter. So in Telugu poetry, for instance, there are what are called as Champakamala, Utpalamala, Kandapadyam. So these are all the chandas. So most of the poems in Telugu are in Kanda. They are Kanda Padyas.
Kanda is 5, right?
Yeah, I don't exactly remember like for Champakamala, I think the beat is the Laghu Guru permutations are Naja Bhaja Jajara or something like that. So that is the meter. So that is the fifth anga. Now, what is the sixth anga?
You have definition, pronunciation.
So when reciting the Rudram, this is the Rudram, right?
Yes.
When reciting the Rudram, what do the people do?
Well,
Did you ever observe somebody reciting the Rudram?
sometimes they close their eyes.
Okay, and what else? Everyone who recites Rudram in the temple, I mean, at least the priests in the temple, in the Sanctum Sanctorum, do the same thing. Did you ever observe that?
They all have the same ragam.
Yeah, they sing the five
But yeah, that's
Vedangas. They make sure that all the angas are covered. But in addition to that, and one of the angas is something that we did not cover, which they all do alike. What is that? Did anyone observe?
Well, they all recite it loudly and clearly, like muffled talking and stuff.
That's right. That is pronunciation. And what else? Did you see them doing some procedures like touching their nose, touching their head, touching their...
Oh, like in certain parts of...
Yeah, and then doing this.
Yeah, Chinmudra.
Angushtabhyam Namaha. Right?
Yes.
So all of them do the same thing. That is a sixth anga. That is a procedure. Every Veda has a procedure. So true Vedas, when recited with all these six angas, are the most powerful. But reciting with all the angas is difficult, and it prevented a lot of people from respecting the Vedas. So Vedas, as long as your intention is good, you can do your best. I mean, many people in the olden days, they used to frighten others, saying that if you don't recite it with all the six sanghas, something bad is going to happen and all that stuff.
What will happen?
They used to frighten them. I mean, something bad. I don't want to go into those details. We want to stay positive as much as possible, right?
Right.
But the modern days, people have realized that if you frighten others,
They shy away
Vedas,
from it.
yeah, they shy away from it, and Vedas may slowly start to disappear from our memory, right? They go into the oblivion if no one practices. Particularly Vedas with these 6 angas, they cannot be read from a book, because if you read from the book, you can make out the pronunciation to some extent, you can make out the Vyakarana to some extent. Maybe if somebody documented the Jyotisha, that also can be known from the books. Nirukta, the definition can be known from the books. Chandas can also be known from the books. But Kalpa, procedure, how do you know the procedures?
You can't read that while.
Yeah, it is very difficult. Yeah, nobody can write, you do like this, right?
No.
Yeah, so you do like this. Nobody can write that. So that is the reason why Vedas have always been taught from teacher to student, never from the book, never from the audio tapes, never from the discs, right? They are meant to be taught from a guru to a shishya
You're not
only.
supposed to.
Yeah. So because all the 6 sanghas are important, but people have realized that there's nothing harm. I mean, this is God, right? God, as long as your intention is clean and pure, it's okay to recite Vedas in the best way that you can, right? So that is the reason why we are not focusing on all the 6 sanghas in these classes, right? If you have noticed, we are not talking about the rituals, for instance. We are not talking about the timing, or we are not practicing the timing or the rituals. So that's okay, I think. But the intention is important. The intention, we should have good intentions, right? So those are the 6 Vedangas. And then there are 6 Shastras. Actually, this is a bit debatable, Shastras. Which are the Shastras? There are multiple versions, and how many Shastras are there? There are multiple versions. But the important Shastras are, what are some of the Shastras?
What does Shastra mean?
Shastra is a science.
6 sciences?
Yeah, 6 sciences. So the most popular Shastra that is practiced today is the Yoga Shastra.
Like tapas?
No, Yoga Shastra, Yogasanas. You do Yogasanas, right?
Yeah.
Surya Namaskar Asan and Chakrasan, Dhanurasan.
Very, even in Western culture.
Yeah, even in Western culture, right? So that is one of the Shastras of the Vedas. So this Yoga Shastra, the guru for Yoga Shastra is Patanjali. In fact, I have a book. It's actually Patanjali Yoga Sutras. It's an English translation of Patanjali Yoga Sutras. So Patanjali is like the guru for yoga. So that is one Shastra. The other Shastra is the Nyaya Shastra. Nyaya is law.
Doesn't Nyaya mean like
Yeah, Nyaya means justice. So the science of justice, the law, is Nyaya Shastra. And the guru for that is Gautama Rishi. Gautama is a Rishi.
like Gautama Buddha?
No, not that Gautama Buddha. Even before him, there was a Rishi called Gautama. So Gautama Rishi is the founder of Nyaya Shastra, can be thought of.
Wait, but isn't law somewhat recent?
No. Since times of civilization, law always existed, right?
Oh, like fairness and what's
Yeah,
right.
fairness and all that existed. But more than Gautama's Nyaya Shastra, today what is practiced is what is called as a Manusmriti. Shruti is the Vedas and Smriti is the memory part, right? So one of the memory parts is this Nyaya, Manusmriti. It deals with the laws. So most of today's law practice evolved from Manusmriti. At least the Hindu side of the law is from the Manusmriti. So if you study Indian law, for instance, there is a concept called karta. Like here you call head of the household, right? In Indian law, it is called karta.
Like president?
Yeah, head of the household. So like typically the father in India at
Oh.
least. But in US, there's no such distinction. Yeah, in India also, head of the household could be mothers for various reasons. But so the word used for that is karta.
So the person who makes the decisions?
Yeah. Karta means someone who does. But yeah, you're right. The person who makes the decisions. So today's law the Nyaya Shastra is mostly based on the Manusmriti. So that is the second Shastra. And the third Shastra, of course, is our favorite mathematics, Sankhya Shastra. Right?
That one's very modern. Right?
Yeah, that is times immemorial and very modern also.
Yeah.
Math has always stayed. That's why it's very powerful. So today machine learning is all based on math. This Anuvaka, this mantra is also based on numbers, math, right? And that Sankhya Shastra is attributed to a teacher called Kapila Muni. Kapila.
Were these people all in like the very first, like, were they all in this yuga?
Not really.
Like not in
Yeah,
Kali
most
Yuga,
of
but
them
it-
do not
how
belong
is
to
that
Kali
the
Yuga. Yeah, most of them do not belong to the Kali Yuga. Then there is how many did we cover? We covered Nyaya, we covered Sankhya, we covered Yoga, Patanjali, right? So the fourth Shastra is called the Vaisheshika. So Vya means again analyze, right? So what is the science of analysis? It is the ultimate analysis, the analysis, the differences between body and soul.
So isn't that kind of like
Yeah, so that's science, the science which analyzes the concept of body and the concept of soul is called Vaisheshika.
isn't that what like doctors do?
No, this is spiritual. Doctors don't even accept that there is a soul, right?
Yeah.
In the modern medicine, there's no concept of soul. And that is one of the major drawbacks. I consider that as a major drawback in today's medicine. Whereas in reality, your health has to do with your soul. But
So you can train your mind to become cold resistant.
yeah, in olden days, the rishis used to cure themselves without any
Yeah.
medicines, right? They used to cure dangerous diseases, right? So it has to deal with soul actually. Your health is basically heavily dependent on the soul. But the modern medicine completely ignores it. So that is one drawback of the modern medicine, but we are not going there anyway. So the fourth science is the science of body and soul, Vaisheshika.
Wouldn't this be kind of like Ayurveda?
No, it is beyond Ayurveda. Ayurveda is about
Or medicine?
medicines, the real physical medicines. But beyond Ayurveda is Vaisheshika. Then the next science is a science of rituals. Our Vedas
Yajna?
have, yajna is one such ritual. Then another ritual is like the rituals that we have when we are born, when
Like
we,
the Akshara ceremony?
Aksharabhyasa, like the ear piercing ceremony,
The hair
Karna Veda,
The hair cutting?
the hair cutting ceremony, all those are ceremonies. So there is a science for that because these ceremonies have a significance. They are not like anything, right? They are not random ceremonies. So you are blowing candles, that's random. I mean, there's no science behind blowing candles. But there is a lot of science behind Karna Veda, for instance.
Really?
Yeah, piercing the ears.
Did they have ear piercing in Satyuga?
Yeah, like my dad used to have his ears pierced. So ear piercing, there's a science associated with ear piercing and those kind of ceremonies. So that Shastra is called Mimamsa Shastra. So 4, 5, right? So we covered 5 sciences. Now the 6th science is the essence of all sciences and all the Vedas, and that is called the Vedanta. So Anta means end. Veda means, the Vedas, the knowledge.
Knowledge.
So Vedanta is the end of knowledge, the ultimate
Moksha.
end of knowledge. Yeah, it is. You can think of it as moksha, but the essence of Vedas is captured in what is called as a Vedanta. So those are the 6 Shastras. So the word for 12, Dvadasa Chame, so means 6 Vedangas and 6 Shastras. So we saw what are the 6 Vedangas and what are the 6 Shastras.
Is it just like coincidence that it turned out to be odd numbers from 1 to 33 and then multiples of 4 from 4 to 48? Is it just a coincidence or?
Why? Why do you think it's a coincidence?
Well, because it seems very.
Yeah, you're right.
It's
There is, see, numbers play, actually in the next slide we are going to cover that, but numbers play a very unique role in our existence.
Because of their meaning?
Numbers have a very strong meaning. So they are very powerful. They are just not manipulation instruments for manipulations. They have a deeper meaning. That is the reason why powerful things like machine learning, self-driving cars, deep learning, all those have to do only with numbers. So numbers are very powerful. They are not just instruments. They are not like letters. So for password setting, they say use numbers and letters, as if numbers and letters are equivalent. But no, that's not right.
Letters are very recent.
Letters, no, letters are also there, right? Vedas have letters, right? So letters, but numbers have a very strong influence. They are much, much more powerful, right? So this Vedic math tried to explore that prospect of the power of numbers in the Vedas. But yeah, you're right. It's not a coincidence. It is the way the universe is made. Universe is made following certain patterns of numbers.
Like how 1 + 1 = 2.
Yes.
So on and so forth.
Yeah. So there are some patterns. So numbers are very powerful. So just see this Anuvaka is all about numbers, and those numbers are so powerful. This mantra is so powerful. Right? So that is 12. Dvadasa Chame. Next is Shodasa Chame, right? 16. Shodasa is 16. Sho means 6, Dasa is 10. 10 plus 6 is 16. So 16 stands for knowledge to be obtained from God.
Don't we say that Sri Dhamma had 16 qualities?
Yeah.
That's the same thing.
Yeah, 16 good things about the God, basically. So you can think of them. Then 20. So 20 is the Mahabhutas. Actually, there are only 5 Pancha Mahabhutas, but sometimes you can interpret Mahabhutas to be 20 in number.
Oh, because like there's in the earth Bhuta, there's trees, plants, leaves,
Yeah, you can think
seeds,
of
and
them.
then
So
in water, there's oceans,
Yeah.
lake, river.
So 20 is for the Mahabhutas. And 24 is for the number of letters in the Gayatri Chandas meter.
So Raga Momo.
So Gayatri Chandas is very important, very powerful as well. A lot of mantras are in the Gayatri meter. Gayatri Chandas.
So is it 24 as like how Adi Talam has 8 letters and then Gayatri meter has 24?
Yeah. So Gayatri Chandas has yeah. 24 is the number of letters in the Gayatri meter, right? And so Gayatri, typically every mantra has 4 padas, 4 parts. Yeah, pada is like feet. So you can 4 legs or feet or whatever. So four parts. Let us not go into legs and feet. Let's say parts. So there are 4 parts or 4 padas in every mantra, and each pada contains a fixed number of letters. So that is the whole idea of the meter, right? Chandas, Champakamala, Utpalamala, and all that. They have a fixed number of letters in each of the pada.
Like how in many shlokas
There are
there's
4
2 or
padas.
4 lines.
Yeah, 2 or 4 lines. Right, you're right.
And it's split into half.
Yes. So typically, most of the mantras have 4 lines, but Gayatri Chandas has only 3. And so they say that the 3 parts of the Gayatri Chandas are extracted from each of the 3 Vedas, Rig, Yajur, and Sama. Atharva Veda came very recently, so the oldest ones are Rig, Yajur, and Sama.
When did Atharva Veda come?
I don't know the timelines exactly, but Rig is the oldest, Sama is also oldest, and Yajur is the next, I think, next oldest, and then Atharva Veda. So Gayatri Chandas, the mantras in Gayatri Chandas, the Gayatri Chandas itself is said to have 1 line from each of the 3 Vedas, I mean Rig, Yajur, and Sama. So each of these lines contain 8 letters. So 3 into 8 is 24. So 24, the number 24 refers to the 24 letters in the Gayatri Chandas. And Gayatri is the king of mantras. A lot of important mantras are in the Gayatri Chandas, and because it has only 3 parts or 3 padas, it is called Tripada Gayatri, right? So that is the Gayatri mantra.
The number of letters is like syllables, right?
Yeah. Then 28 is the number of letters in Ushnik meter. Another chandas is called Ushnik. So Ushnik is, there's not much explanation there. So it's just another chandas, and it has 28 number of letters. And 32 stands for the number of letters in the Anushtup chandas, like
Vishnu
Lalita
Sahasranama.
Sahasranama, Vishnu Sahasranama, all these are in Anushtup chandas, right? So it has 32 letters in the Anushtup chanda. Similarly, Brihati chandas, there are 36. Pankti chandas, there are 40. Trishtup chandas, there are 44. And Jagati chandas, there are 48 letters. So what is the point in asking for these chandas? What does it convey? What does it mean to you?
We're asking for the mantras that have that chanda.
Right, we are asking for the effect of the mantras of that chandas.
Oh.
So that means the power of all the mantras, probably. You're asking for the power of all the mantras of the chandas.
Are these the only mantras or are there more?
What do you mean? The Vedas are thousands of mantras, right?
Yeah, but like, sorry.
Oh,
these
the chandas,
yeah,
only chandas. That's a good question. I think this covers most of the chandas, or maybe all the
The most
chandas. I'm not
important.
very sure. So how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
7.
I'm not very sure how many chandas are there in
Well, at least the
Sanskrit.
most important
But yeah,
ones.
the most important ones are all covered here. So Anushtup Chandas is covered, Gayatri Chandas is covered. That itself covers a lot of mantras. So we are asking for the power of those mantras in this chandas. See, that
Vedas
means
have chandas?
that's what we are talking, right?
Oh, right.
So So we are asking for the power of all those mantras in all these chandas. So in summary, just in one Anuvaka, in a few numbers, we are asking all the good things in the universe, all using numbers, right? So just like that, in machine learning, we accomplish many amazing tasks by converting everything into numbers, right? So numbers are very, very important. See how deep this mantra is? That is why it is very powerful. It is recited so many times. There are various ways in which it is recited. When we go to Shivaratri celebrations, there is a way to recite the Rudram, right? So you recite the Namakam once and one Anuvaka of the Chamakam. Then you recite the Namakam a second time, the second Anuvaka of the Chandas, of the Chamakam, and so on and so forth. There's a way to recite this. The reason is this mantra is very powerful. You're asking for all the good things in the universe by just using a few numbers. So that is the power of numbers, right? So we have, I think, 5 more minutes, which is too small, too short a time for going to the next topic. Well, let us do one thing. Any questions so far?
Are all the meters named, like, is Gayatri named Gayatri for a certain reason? Like, because of the meter or something? Or are they just like that was the original thing and then other people and other things are named off of the.
So in Sanskrit, everything has a reason and everything has a meaning. So that's for sure. So Gayatri, yes, it has a meaning. And in fact, Gayatri is worshipped as a Devi, right? As a goddess. So I'm not very sure, but yeah, this Chandas, the Gayatri Chandas, may be related to the goddess Gayatri. Or maybe that goddess Gayatri is a personification of the Gayatri Chandas. It could be one of the two, but it could be both. The Gayatri is a personification of the Gayatri mantras, I think. You can think of it that way. So Ushnik, there is a meaning. Anushtup, there's a meaning. Brihati, there's a meaning. So all of them must be having meanings. But good question. Okay, any other questions?
Are there other Anuvakas with are there other Anuvakas with the same type of words, except in like different, like multiples of 2 or multiples of 4 or some other way? Or is this the only Anuvaka?
So this is the only Anuvaka in the Rudram, in the Chamakam, which has numbers, asking with respect to numbers. There are some numbers in the Chamakam, in the other Anuvakas also, but this is the Anuvaka which prays for a lot of good things using numbers. Right? This is the last Anuvaka of the Chamakam. So there are 11 Anuvakas. Each Anuvaka is recited with each time the Namakam is recited in the Ekavara recitation style. Each Anuvaka is recited after one recitation of the Namakam, particularly done during Shivaratri. So the other question you had in the beginning was, so why do we ask for worldly things? So as you can see, these are worldly, right? These are somewhat worldly.
But they're still.
But they are yeah, they're really noble qualities. They're not like give me A grade in math, give me B grade in science. It's not like that, right? These are really very noble, very high, lofty ideals, right? So these are the ideals that we need to live with. Okay, we don't have time for machine learning today. Also, maybe next class we'll probably have time. So let's conclude the session with our regular prayer. Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amrutangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu. Samasta Sanmangalani Santu. See you next week.